Hello, and welcome to the party. Today is Coupon Thursday, and it's always been about the economy, and so that's what Thursday is always about. We were going to talk about something different today. However, the news in Florida has changed the agenda for today, and we must talk about it. Everybody's got their own personal story, and I'll share mine real quick. When we bought a house in 1975, we moved to a new neighborhood in Chicago, and my parents met our next door neighbors who had heard about a country club that was about 2 miles away from home, that was hiring people, kids, to be caddies. And if you don't know what a caddy is, it's somebody who carries golf clubs around a golf course for the golfer. And I was 12 years old at the time. Why this is so important is that as a 12-year-old, I should not have been working. Certainly not 6 to 7 days a week from sun up to sun down. So sunrise to sun down, sunset. And so I was 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to 7 o'clock in the evening. Over 12 hours. It's completely and totally inappropriate for anybody who's a kid to be doing that. Why? Well, quite simply, as adults, we like to have an attitude about students, about people who are under the age of 18. And we always want to tell them what to do, how to do it, how to feel, what they should feel, how they should behave, and it always seems to suit the adults. It's very rarely about the children. It's very rarely about students. It's about the adults in charge. And this was very true for my parents, especially my father. I think he really resented the fact that in 1974, from April through August, I had experienced the best moment of my life. And I think he resented it. Which is weird. How can a parent resent their child having a good moment? We'll just leave it at that because I'm not going to psychoanalyze somebody who's already gone. I guess that's a little bit of a waste of time, but it is a fact. And so now we have within the state of Florida a proposal simply because the right wing has created a problem that did not exist, 6, 9 months, 12 months ago. Problem did not exist to the extent that they're creating today. And that has to do with a labor shortage simply because of how we're treating immigrants and the people who would do the work that the average person does not want to do. Well, what have the people in Florida decided, the right wing? Well, they decided that the average person, the adult, does not want to pick crops. We've gotten rid of all the immigrants who are willing to pick the crops. So who best? Our children, our students. There's nothing about this that is correct. There is nothing about this that is appropriate. Florida proposes to change child labor laws. And this is what is out there. They want to eliminate working time restrictions. Well, does that mean that there's no longer an 8-hour workday? The Republicans want to create a 14-hour workday for somebody who's 14 years old? Is that appropriate? Is that what they're doing? Is that what they want? Because it says here, eliminate working time restrictions. That says to me that you just don't really care about the idea of an 8-hour workday. You believe that we should go back to the idea of working 12 to 14, 16 hours a day and just come home and sleep. No time to eat, no time to enjoy your family. Just go to work, come home, sleep, get up, go to work, come home and sleep. We got rid of that idea over 100 years ago. We cannot go back. And especially making children go back, making students go back. Makes no sense. But here's where it even gets worse. They want to have 14-year-olds to work overnight. Overnight. And then the other thing is that teens can work overnight on school days. Well, one thing I can say about having been a student in the 70s is, unlike today, we had homework and we had to do it and it helped with our education, but we weren't overburdened with homework. Where when you came home from school, it was like having a part-time job where you have to do 4 to 6 hours of work in order to be done with school before you could enjoy yourself, eat dinner, and go to sleep. So if you think about it, how is a student who's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old supposed to do all of their homework, but also work a job where they're working 4 to 6, 8 hours a day and working until 2, 3, 4 in the morning? Whoever said in the United States of America in the year 2025, the 21st century, that this was appropriate, that this was where we would be, that this would be something that we would even have to think about? Which is why, when everything is said and done, we need to put things into writing in a constitutional amendment format to say never again are we going to allow this to happen. Because it's absolutely ridiculous to think that a student who's 14, 15, 16 years old should be working at 2 in the morning. They should be in bed sleeping, having wonderful dreams about their past day and what the next day is going to bring them, with hope and joy in their hearts, filled up in their brains as they're dreaming and sleeping. Not suffering in some warehouse or some field somewhere, doing a job that was never meant for somebody their age. And so this is the idea of teens can work overnight on school days. I mean, who makes that kind of proposal? But here's the other thing that I just can't believe. And they have this in writing as a part of the proposal, which is why proposals are so important and why the Peace Party wants to put our proposals in writing so that you can look at them and say, no, bad idea. Scratch that out. And then we'll look at it and go, okay, you're right. We agree. That probably was not the best idea. We're glad you caught it. We're going to scratch that out. And this is something that needs to be scratched out, everyone. They want to end guaranteed meal breaks for the ages of 16 and 17. What? What? So if you're 12, 13, 14, 15, you get a meal break. You can eat. If you're 18 years old and on up, you can eat. But for whatever reason, if you're 16 or 17, no meal breaks for you. Nope, nope, nope. Number one, it's absolutely discriminatory. It's stupid. And clearly nobody on the right has thought this through. And if they did, they really don't care about you. They don't care about students. They don't care about people. And this is really an excuse to go ahead with horrible policies with the idea that we can fix the problem by creating another problem. Well, that doesn't make any sense. And we're going to say, really, this is what we want for our kids in the future. Because if one state goes ahead and does this, I can guarantee you're going to see another 10, 20 states try to push this through, where kids now need to start working at the age 12, 13 years old. And if you just happen to be 16 or 17, we're not going to let you eat. But you still have to work those 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours, because that's what we're going to demand of you. Because, hey, we're going to eliminate working time restrictions. And you may have to work overnight. Now, what overnight? What does that mean? When I think of overnight, I'm thinking 12 midnight to 8 a.m. in the morning. Overnight. Well, you know, you go to work at 12 midnight and you get off at 8 in the morning, and now you're supposed to go straight to school? That makes sense? Because they're saying teens can work overnight on school days. So we're not talking about the summertime, which is when I worked those 6 to 7 days a week. It was over the summer of 1975. After that, when school started, I worked every Saturday without fail. The place that my father worked, where I got a job in October of 1975, did not work on Sundays. If the warehouse had been open on Sundays, I probably would have been told to work on Sundays also. We would have gone to church Saturday night. And then I would have gone to work immediately at 6, 7, 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday if they had been open. And I'm positive that would have been a fact. But they weren't. But either way, at the age of 12, 13, 14 years old, I still was working way too early. I missed out on my childhood and getting to know people in a brand new neighborhood because I was always working. That's not what a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old is supposed to do. They're supposed to be learning how to be a good citizen and learn how to get along and work with other people and date. And we're not going to talk about here who I should have dated or who I wanted. That's irrelevant. The idea is to socialize and learn who you are and then go with it. That was denied me. And I do not, and the Peace Party as a whole, does not want to see any student, anybody from the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, be denied their opportunity to live the life that they were supposed to lead and live through those years. In all honesty, I think any psychologist, psychiatrist, sociologist, anybody in the education profession would look at the years between 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 as being those pivotal years where your personality grows. You gain self-confidence. You learn what it is that you want so that when you turn 20, 25, you're a little bit closer to nailing it down and knowing where you're going. What is happening in Florida cannot be allowed to stand. And it's going to have to be put in writing, folks. We're going to have to put it in writing very specifically that child labor cannot be allowed, in especially this format. I'm not saying, and the Peace Party is not saying that somebody between 16, 17 should never work. Actually, in some ways, that can be a really good thing because you do learn some responsibility. It is good to get out of the house. It is good to do something away from your friends, do something outside of school. But then again, that also does not mean that you're going to be working overnight on school days, even if you are 16 or 17. And this idea that you're not going to get a meal break because simply you're 16 or 17, again, I can't believe we have to say we have to outlaw that. It's ridiculous what the right wing keeps coming up with. But they keep doing it and we keep having to fight back. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to put this in writing and we're going to present it to you and do something about these kind of laws. We support students, we support children, and we are opposed to any child labor laws that do anything but build community. We oppose anything that does harm. We are first do no harm party. With that said, going back to our question that we always ask, and you got to admit it does have a lot to do with harm. High rent causes harm. It takes money away from food. It takes money away from extracurricular activities, like going to the movies, taking your kids to the park. You could say, well, not everybody can get to a park because not every park is nearby. A lot of people need to travel. Well, if you got a family of 4 and you're always taking the bus, well, you could be looking at $10, $15 just for the bus ride. We like to make an assumption that everybody's in the same economic boat. It's not fair. It's not true. So we ask the question, what is a reasonable profit for a landlord to make on a rental unit that costs a total of $1,000 a month to operate? We're always looking for the answer. Let us know, and we will talk to you tomorrow. And tomorrow will be Friday. And what do we call Friday? Oh yeah, TGIF. How simple. Take care.